It's nothing better, in my humble opinion, than having an NBA Hall of Famer, one of the top 25 players in NBA history, and a Warriors legend. Rick Barry joining me for Locked On Warriors next. I'm going to get his opinions on how he thinks the Warriors are doing. They're a 500 team at the 44 game mark. Is that good or bad? We'll find out next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. You follow my dear friend Rick Barry, one of the greatest players in the history of this game, one of the kindest individuals I've ever known, on social media, on all platforms, at Rick24Barry. And of course, you can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, at Dog Surf Roadshow on Twitter. Rick, welcome back from the Amazon. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing awesome. I had just an incredible trip. So anybody, if you're a fly fisherman, and you can even go on some trips that aren't just all fly fishing, if you go to the group that I went with, go to your bucket list, bucketlistfishing.com. Check it out. Unbelievable. I mean, just absolutely unbelievable. Almost 2,600 peacock bass that we hooked in 6.5 days with 8 people. I got my 10-pound peacock bass. I got multiple double-digit peacock bass. Just an amazing trip. So if you're into fly fishing, do it. But let's quickly talk, because I know you got to go and you have some things you've got to do. So we won't have a lengthy portion for me, but the Warriors are so lucky that nobody's running away with things in the Western Conference, and they're still in the thick of things, despite the fact that everything that we talked about that needed to happen hasn't really been happening. And thank God that Steph Curry has been playing at such an MVP type of level, and they survive him being out. And, he came back, got him a victory with 41 the other night against the Wizards.
Yeah.
But thank God for him. And then, of course, Clay, again, people always wonder, Clay has always been this way, roller coaster, up and down, up and down. But he stepped up to help him get a few victories. And I was a little worried when they lost those 3 in a row there, but they're hanging, they're hanging. Yeah. And that's the most important thing. But all you got to do to look is that just look at the stats of where they stand league-wise. And it just tells the story.
And you're talking about the standings, right?
No, not just standing. I'm talking about where they stand in some of the statistical stuff, because I'm not, huge on statistics, but these are very viable. I mean, important. They're 5th in points per game, right? They average 117.5 points per game. So they're able to keep themselves in games. They're 11th in rebounding. You're in the second, the upper half of the rebounding. So it's not like they're getting killed on the boards, despite they don't have big size. So they're doing a good job. 1st in assists. That's the major big thing. 1st in assists. They play that unselfish move, pass, cut basketball. But then you look and you see and you want to throw up. 26th in points per game for the opposition.
Yeah.
Okay? That's
disgusting.
Killing them. It's what we talked about earlier. Their defense has been so inconsistent. It looked like maybe they were turning the corner a little bit, but they're just killing themselves. They have to get focused and become a better defensive team. Then we have to hope. We thought we saw some glimmer of stuff where maybe Wiseman was going to get a chance to start to do some things, but then he played. Next thing you know, he doesn't even play the next game. I mean, I don't know what's going on there, to be perfectly honest with you, but they need him to come through and be a factor for them. They need him. And then the other guys haven't developed. Moody hasn't really had a chance to do very much. They've been playing some of the other guys, and they're very inconsistent. So, again, it comes down to the bench. The Warriors championship seasons and all, the bench has always been a big factor for them. And from any team, you've got to get the guys that come off the bench to play at a good level. You can't put your reserves in and all of a sudden lose leads and not be able to compete. That's the areas that the Warriors have. And they've got plenty of time to still be able to get it all together. But if they don't get it together, the chances of ever, making in the playoffs is up in the air. Who the hell knows? I mean, everybody's battling for these spots, and I don't know who's going to make it. But they're not going to go very far if they don't straighten out those areas. That's really a very simple analysis of where the Warriors stand right now.
No, it's an astute analysis. And I have a lot of questions for you. First of all, Rick, I want to quickly promote the Rick Barry Show. If people download the Mic'd Up app, we do shows once a week, once every other week, and people can catch them live just by downloading the Mic'd Up app.
Well, tell them how they spell that, because it's not MIKE, right?
Right. It's MICDUP, and it's available on the any app store, whether you have a Droid device or an Apple. But there's some breaking news. First of all, which I don't know if you've heard this. I just found this out. We're recording this on January 18th, Wednesday. It's a little past 12:30. I'm trying to find the name here. Brian Robb of MassLive.com, a credible news organization, reporting that the Golden State Warriors inquired about the availability of Boston Celtics reserve guard Payton Pritchard. And they wanted to trade for him. The Celtics reportedly are looking for a backup big on the market. So I imagine James Wiseman might have been dangled. JaMychal Green, maybe more so, along with a pick, just because JaMychal's salary matches up better with Pritchard. But that's a weird player for the Warriors to be pursuing, because you're right. They're 26th out of 30 teams in terms of points given up, exemplifying how poor their defense has been this year. I don't know if Payton Pritchard is an answer defensively. I like his hustle. He's a scrappy little player, relatively speaking, at like 6'2", 6'3". But he's an incredible offensive player. But I just don't know if offense is what they need. I know we just learned this, but what are your thoughts on that? That the Warriors were at least trying to pursue Payton Pritchard. The Celtics, by the way, reportedly have no interest in trading him. But your thoughts on that?
It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me after I just read those statistics to you. 5th in scoring. What the hell? I need somebody else who can score for, and you're 26th in points given up. You would think you want to have somebody else that maybe is a rim protector for you. Make it a little bit more difficult if your defense breaks down. Do you have somebody to protect it? That's the way it was in the old days. How defense changed, folks. Back when I first came into the league, it was always this: funnel all the guys to the basket. So you had your Bill Russells and your Wilt Chamberlains and your Nate Thurmans and your Zelmo Beatties and some of these other big guys. And that's what you want to do. Walt Bellamy's and all. Funnel it to the big guys. Okay, they were your last line of defense. Then it turned into a team defense. Don't let them get to the big man. Right. Keep them on the perimeter. Make them beat you from the outside. Then the 3-point shot came into play, and all of a sudden players started working on learning how to shoot the 3-point shot, because if anybody had shot that kind of shot back when I played, your butt would be on the bench, because the coach would say, "What are you out of your freaking mind? What are you doing?" And so it's changed so dramatically. So now you have to be a good, tough defensive team. I just don't know why people just don't switch everything outside. The way that people are shooting threes, and let these guys come, they penetrate. That's why if you have one guy inside who can be there to be a little bit of a rim protector, then he can come and maybe stop some of that stuff. But don't be leaving. Now you got to go stop to protect it too. Well, now they're kicking it out to the guys getting that spot up 3-pointers, and everybody's shooting the three. And it's become a team that wins the 3-point shooting in a game. Generally, is the team that wins.
Yes.
It's a very, very high percentage of victories for the team that scores more 3-point shots in an NBA basketball game now. The percentages are in their favor that they're going to win the game.
It's crazy how much the game of basketball has changed in that regard. Just this reliance on the 3-point shot. Would you agree?
Greg Popovich had something to say. He says, "Hey, pretty sure we'll have the 4-point and 5-point shot, and we'll make it a real circus."
Well, it would literally turn into a circus if they did that. I pray that it never gets to that point. Rick, this is what I've noticed. Let me know if you agree or disagree with this. Defensively, I feel like the Warriors have not caught up with an adapting game where, we're seeing outrageous scoring outputs from individuals, from teams this year, more so than, I don't know if you've ever seen more scoring than this. I haven't. Obviously, your opinion on this matters much more. But I feel like the Warriors have not adapted in the sense that I still see a lot of other teams taking open threes. I see the Warriors daring other shooters who maybe don't have the 3-point percentage that you would normally respect. But now I feel like everyone's making everything, but I don't see the Warriors having urgency defensively in terms of guarding the perimeter. Do you agree with that assessment? Do you not agree with that? That's just one thing from my eye that I'm seeing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think a lot of the teams fall into the trap of giving people opportunities to shoot the three, especially good shooters. You just can't do that.
Right.
I mean, if a guy is 35 or above 3-point shooter, you can't afford to leave him alone to get a wide open look at the basket, because it's too damaging a shot to get 3 points for making that shot. And guys are getting better and better, and you got a lot of guys shooting 40% or better. So how do you ever leave that guy? I don't know how. I remember the greatest thing in the Pan Am games, a Hall of Fame basketball player for Brazil, Oscar Schmidt. All right, they call him Oscar Schmidt. Anyway, and they were playing in the Pan Am games, and my wife was involved. Lynn was involved with the women's program, and also I got to be there and see that. I couldn't believe it that they let Oscar get open. Oscar, I mean, he killed him. You a great shooter. You can't leave a great 3-point shooter open in the game. I'll be willing as a coach. I'll give up the 2. I'm not going to give up the 3 to get a
Right.
40% shooter shoot a
Right.
shot that is so hard to come back from. But if you only gave up a 2 and you stay home and the guy happens to make his 2s, okay, live with that. But you're
Right.
going to go now and everybody stop the guy with the ball. Well, hell yeah. Now everybody's looking to go what? Penetrate and kick. And how many times do you see a guy wide open when you kick? Hey, stay home on the good shooters. If he's going to make the shot, drive and make a floater, whatever it may be. He scores his 2 points, but don't give the other team wide open looks at threes by
Yes.
coming off of great shooters to help stop a 2-point try. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't, and it's driving me crazy, Rick. If I had the soundbite, I'd play that right now. In just a moment, I want to pick your brain, Rick, if you don't mind, on Kerr's rotations, his minute distribution. You've repeated this, and I agree. Nothing this season makes sense, and that's what's alarming to me. I feel like every year, at least I could recognize the bigger picture for what the Warriors are doing. You can kind of see what the strategy is. I don't see it this year, and I want to pick your brain particularly on Kerr and the minutes he's giving to these players. First, I got to give some love to Rocket Money. This is a way for folks to save money, largely because I don't know about you, Rick, but I found out recently that I had 3 subscriptions on Amazon that I never even signed up for. And Amazon for months on end was just charging me $50 a month for these 3 subscriptions to like the Seattle Times. I'm not even in Seattle. To like some Kindle reader. I don't read books through a digital device. I like it old school. And there are a lot of subscriptions people are wasting money on. And this is where Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, it comes in. They're a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they completely forget about, like a streaming service you bought to watch just one show on, a free trial that you never even used. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify all the money you are wasting so you can stop paying for services and things that you don't want. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba. One more time, folks, rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen today. After us, go check out Game to Game NBA. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NBA with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NBA, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Rick Barry's available on social media. Follow him on all platforms at Rick24Barry. Your Instagram account is my favorite, sir. You can also subscribe to The Rick Barry Show. It's on YouTube. It's on every podcast platform, and download the Mic'd Up app. That's MIC_DUP, where you can get the live shows every time Rick and I do this. So Rick, this is the minutes right now for the Golden State Warriors. Anthony Lamb, a two-way player. I remember you once told me a year or so ago when we were discussing who the Warriors should add for their 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th roster spot. You were saying, who cares? Those are not issues contending teams should care about. And I think that extends even more so to two-way players. Yeah, when you look at the minutes for this team right now, Anthony Lamb is 8th in minutes played. Ty Jerome is 10th in minutes played. This is more than Jonathan Kuminga. This is more than JaMychal Green, Moses Moody, James Wiseman. I don't agree with this minutes distribution. I feel like this symbolizes and represents a larger conflict between Kerr and Lacob, where Lacob wants these lottery picks playing. Kerr has little faith and trust in 20-year-old players. What's your assessment of that? Do you like it? Do you disagree with it? Your thoughts, sir?
Well, I think as a coach, you have to try whatever you can to find out who can perform for you on a consistent basis. I don't. But you also invested a lot of money in some of the other players you mentioned, and Kuminga and Moody and places and Wiseman, and for them to not, for these other guys to get minutes, if they were performing at a really super, really high level and doing a great job, I say, hey, that's awesome, man. They're getting a chance to show what they can do. And hey, these guys are better than we thought they would have been. But I haven't seen that. I mean, I've just seen the same inconsistency that I've seen before. So I guess it's up to him. I can't speak for, for what he's going to do, Steve. I mean, he knows it better. He sees them on a daily basis, but I don't know. I just always feel that if you give guys minutes early on and get them a chance to play, you don't have a rookie anymore. You don't have an inexperienced guy come playoff time.
Thank you.
And the
Yes.
only way that you can get better, you can't get better. You can only get so much better sitting and watching. I mean, you have to be out there, and you have to be out there playing. And then you can sit down and you can really, I'm talking about, put it under a microscope, the video, to go sit down and show him and just have somebody focus on that guy. And so then you sit down with them and you say, look, here's what you did here. No, you need to be doing this. You need to be, if you really want to help these guys out, give them some minutes. It'd be nice if they were winning a lot more and you can have a chance to do that. Now they're fighting just to find a way to freaking win.
Right.
Then you sit down with him and you scrutinize his game. I mean, just tear it apart and look at it to try to help them. I mean, I don't think coaches have done that enough in the past. I mean, I think it's critical. It's critical to be able to sit and watch yourself and see it. We're visual learners. You may think you're not doing something, but if you see it, all of a sudden you realize, hey, wow, I had no idea I'm even doing that. And so just do that. I mean, there's a lot of players in the league that could have used that kind of help when they played. The perfect guy was Jason Williams, who I just saw a video on him. Man, I tell you, he was a hell of a passer.
White chocolate?
White chocolate, yeah. I mean, I know him. He likes to fish. I just sent him some pictures of me fishing in the Amazon, and I sent him the copy of that video. I don't know if he had seen it, but somebody had said, this guy never got his just due. But I also don't think that he was mentored properly. I mean, he was doing stuff, and I watched him taking it, throwing the ball here, making pass. No, you got to sit down and say, Jason, in this situation, you can't do this.
Yeah.
You can't come down and make this play at this time in the game. Here's the situation. In this situation, we have to have this mindset. This is what we need to do. You can't make that kind of a pass. I mean, really teach the guy how to play the game the most efficient way possible. That's what coaches need to be able to do. That's what you need to do with your Moody. That's what you need to do with your Kuminga. That's what you even need to do with Poole and stuff, because Poole has a tendency sometimes to force issues. A lot of players today that I see are forcing things.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to make things happen instead of taking what becomes available. Take what the defense gives you. Don't try to force stuff. The greatest example of that is Westbrook tries to force things so often. It's unbelievable. And you just get yourself in trouble. So I'm just saying, fine tune the development of the players by scrutinizing what they did, going through everything, giving him the minutes to do it, and then go and say, then give him a chance to play again. See if he's picked up on it. Is he improving on that? Has he listened to what you're saying? And if he is and he's making strides, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. You got to take baby steps. But I have to agree with you that it's just, I haven't seen anything from the two-way guys basically that has said, oh my God, these guys are unbelievable.
Right. I don't see the Gary Payton II type of standout performance. I'm with you. I want to play the soundbite real quick.
I mean, I'd rather see Kuminga get the thing. I saw a lot of nice things with Kuminga, and I would think he's the guy that you'd want to work on. He's got the athleticism. He sees the floor. He gets the ball to people. He can finish, obviously, unbelievably well. I don't know. I don't know what Steve's doing, and I'm not, going to say criticize him because of the fact that he sees them all the time. He knows what's happening. He's doing what he thinks is best for this team. He's had great success. So how the hell does anybody on the outside sit around and say Steve Kerr's doing a crappy job doing this? That's ridiculous. Steve Kerr has done a great job as a coach, and you have to give him the opportunity to do the way he feels it should be done. And he knows better than anybody because he's with them on a daily basis.
Yeah, I'm not calling. I've not called for his head once. I'm not ever going to that level of extreme. But this year is just, I'm befuddled. I just would like to understand the logic and reasoning behind what's going on. I want to play this.
The players themselves have got to get better and do things. Are they working at it the right way? What are they doing? I haven't seen. I was really excited about the start of the season with Wiseman and I thought Moody had a chance to be a big upside, and Kuminga and what have you. And they haven't taken their game to another level. They haven't made that adjustment. to be able to improve, to get better and show you something to help. That the
Right.
bench has been so inconsistent for the Warriors, and the
Yeah.
team defense has been so inconsistent. At times, it looks really terrific. Man, I said, yeah, this is great. Wow, this is what they need to do. It's very frustrating. If you're a Warriors fan, you have to be frustrated watching what's going on, because the improvement by those key secondary players has not developed, has not come forward. It hasn't
Yeah.
developed.
You're right. The entire bench has been a letdown. Safer. I love Dante DiVincenzo. Jordan Poole comes off the bench. He's has some issues, but he's getting there. But you're right. The bench has been just not great. There's no way to spin that. I'm going to play this soundbite from Anthony Slater in just a moment. From Steve Kerr today, talking about Kuminga's health status, JaMychal Green, and James Wiseman, who weirdly he suffered an ankle injury that was considered minor, but we haven't seen him in nearly 3 weeks. I don't know what's going on there. We're going to hear that soundbite and wrap the show up. First, got to give some love to BetOnline, and more specifically, betonline.net, which provides all sorts of information when it comes to sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Rick, I would love your thoughts on the regular season MVP. I hear people and see people fawning over a player that you and I have called Baby Huey, Nikola Jokic, who is putting up outstanding offensive numbers. I think he's being a little overhyped. It's not like he's averaging 24.9 points per game. I understand the near triple double is impressive and what he's doing, carrying the Nuggets is impressive. But I don't know if I'd pick him over like Giannis. But right now as MVP, he is the favorite at 4-5. Luka Doncic is second at 2-5, and Jason Tatum is third at 1-6. In your opinion, who is your MVP favorite, and does Nikola Jokic deserve this insane praise? I'm hearing people comparing him to like Larry Bird or Magic Johnson. I draw a line there. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, the MVP is the stupidest thing ever in the NBA, because there should be one MVP for the Western Conference and one for the Eastern Conference. I go over that all the time. It's the dumbest thing ever. You don't have a balanced schedule. You don't play the same type of schedule. You play certain teams may more than other teams. How the hell do you have an MVP for that? I don't understand it, okay? And it makes no sense from a marketing standpoint either, because you can have two sponsors. You can have another sponsor coming in to do it, and it's fairer to the players. And then you have an MVP of the playoff series. Okay, with that being said, and I always have to get that out there because it drives me crazy thing here in our show. Anyway, Jokic deserves the credit because he's a center. When has a center done what he's doing?
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't a center that's ever done what he's doing. Ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Will one time led with assistant stuff and everything, but he wasn't the offensive weapon that he was. I mean, this guy's doing everything for this team.
Everything.
And he knows the game. And he's not Baby U. He actually did get in the gym, and he lost a little bit of that baby fat. Luka's the guy that hasn't really got a chance to do that. But I watched Luka very carefully the other day. I watched the double overtime game that they had. And not that I would want to play with him, because he dominates the ball so much, and he just holds a little guy off and he catches it and then backs and does stuff. But the guy's a talent. He sees the floor. He can pass it. He can shoot the three. But nobody's made this comparison, and I'm going to make it now. Maybe someone will actually pick up on it and realize that it's true. He is a larger version of Oscar Robertson with a three-point shooting capability.
Ooh, yeah. No
Oscar Robertson was not a jump shooter. Oscar Robertson would take his guy, use his sides thing, back up, do that little thing, pump it, do it. Luka reminds me a lot of him. He's a bigger version of Oscar who can shoot the three.
That's incredible. Great call. No one has said that. Hopefully that'll be aggregated. But regardless, when it comes to betting on MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, Draymond Green is now thankfully being mentioned in that. He's been playing great defensive ball lately. You can bet on all of that with BetOnline. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, it's where the game starts.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow NBA Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players in the history of the game, Rick Barry, on all social media platforms at Rick24Barry, 24 representing his number. He took it after Willie Mays, his childhood hero. I hope I got that correct. And Yeah, and of course, the Rick Barry Show available on everywhere, and the Mic'd Up app, MIC''DUP. It's Mic'd Up. Download the app today on all Droid and Apple devices. I want to play the sound clip from Anthony Slater real fast, who recorded this. This is Steve Kerr holding a presser today, and here was what Kerr had to say about some of the young players.
Do you know who you may or may not have tomorrow night in the game? You getting anybody back?
Clay will be back tomorrow.
Okay.
Unsure about anybody else at this point. We scrimmaged today, not our main guys, but the guys who are on the verge of coming back just had a good practice and played some 3-on-3. And so I'll talk to the training staff. We'll see how everybody comes up afterwards.
So I assume Kuminga scrimmaged. Did Wiseman and JaMychal?
Wiseman did not. Kuminga and JaMychal both scrimmaged.
Okay.
With some of our other guys who don't play as much, and it seemed to go well, but they have to check in with the training staff, and we'll see what that means. I would say doubtful for tomorrow, just with the back-to-back, but possible for Friday.
Got you.
All right. So the weird thing there is, Jonathan Kuminga, JaMychal Green are progressing. Their size desperately needed. James Wiseman not even scrimmaging. What would you trade him at this point? I mean, would you stay patient with him at this point? Any opinions on James Wiseman, Rick?
Well, they have to be patient. I mean, they got to find a way to get this guy to be a contributor if they have any hopes whatsoever of defending their championship. I mean, I just don't see any way that they're going to win another championship with the way things stand now, unless there's some drastic improvement from a number of players, with Wiseman at the top of the list. I mean, because they had nothing from him last year, obviously. I mean, he was the one kind of the X factor. But Kuminga hasn't gotten to where he needs to be. Moody hasn't really done a lot to do with, to contribute to what they need. This is what has to happen. They have to get these guys. They have plenty of time to get it done. But I think it's a critical element for them if they really want to improve the fact that they're almost the worst team in the league in points scored against. I mean, come on. The
and
players they're too good offensively to be able to give up that many points. You can't expect, especially going on the road, to give up that number of points and expect to win games. It's just very difficult to do. It's very difficult to do. So that's it. Say a prayer that somehow, some way, these guys make a commitment, get better with their defense. I'm sure it's got to be frustrating for Steve and the staff. I mean, come on, they know what's going on. They realize how ridiculous it is. They're not going to defend as champions, being the almost worst team in the league, giving up points, because there's never been a team in the NBA that's won a championship that wasn't one of the better defensive teams. That tells the entire story. Never has happened. I'm not saying you got to be the best, but I don't think there's been a team outside of the top 10 defensively that was an NBA champion. And somebody can look that up if they want to do it. I'm not going to do it, but I'm not a betting person, but I'd be certainly willing to bet that no team out of the top 10 in defense has been an NBA champion.
Yeah, no, I follow the gist. Absolutely. I think you're absolutely correct when it comes to the gist of it. Maybe technically there might be a team or two out there that, is an anomaly. And they're 18th in point differential. That's a category that they routinely lead the NBA in, especially during championship runs. This year, they're in the negative. They're being outscored on the season by minus 0.3. So we'll see what happens. Again, the Rick Barry Show is out there. Rick and I love doing that. Hopefully, Rick will record a new show soon. Download the Mic'd Up app. Anything else you want to promote, Rick, before we bounce out?
But hey, again, Go Sleeves. You see it here, GoSleeves.com. Go in there, RB24, the code. And then the same thing with Medicileaf, MEDICILEAF.com. Unbelievable products. In fact, when I was down in the Amazon, I had somebody over there that had him use one of the Platinum Plus salve on his hand. This guy didn't think he was going to be able to fish anymore. And he said, Rick, it's like he said, it's a miracle. I got to get some of this stuff. So check it out. RB24 is the code, GoSleeves.com and Medicileaf.com. And hopefully that'll help you make life a little bit more tolerable for you. But let's all know, if you are a believer in prayer, let's say a prayer for the Warriors. Please let some of these players actually start to improve their game. And please, guys, start playing some freaking defense.
Let's hope. Rick, love you. Let's talk soon. Thank you, everyone. Later.